What's up YouTube, how you doing? This is Mr. Tiebox123 and in this video I'm going to be bringing you my full review of this, the Sony Xperia SP. Welcome back guys, and thank you very much for tuning in to my review of the Sony Xperia SP. This is actually a nice mid-range smartphone from Sony. We'll get into the details of that in just a minute. Now first up, big thank you to clove.co.uk for sending me out this phone. You can go and check out their website and they do a whole range of off-contract phones, and this one in particular you can get for £300 from clove.co.uk. In the US you can pick this up for about $420. Now first up, let's take a look at the build quality and also the design. Now in terms of the design, this is very different from its big brother, the Xperia Z. The SP actually feels a lot heavier in the hand, and that's probably because of the metal border that goes all the way around the outside of the phone. When we get to the back of the phone, it's actually got a plastic removable cover, and although the plastic cover feels quite nice to the hand and feels like quite a hard wearing material, when you press down in the center of it, it actually bulges in and out. Now I'm not quite sure whether they've left this room for maybe some wireless charging options, but it kind of does make it feel just a little bit too flexible when you're pushing down on it and when you're holding it with your fingers, that it moves in and out. The metal border that goes all the way around the outside is actually quite nice, feels quite premium in the hand, and then it's got that full sheet of glass on the front. Now on the bottom, again, Sony, like the Xperia S, have actually opted for a completely see-through panel at the bottom of the phone, which, as we'll see later on in the video, actually lights up in different colours depending on which kind of notifications you've got, and also plays along some lights to things like music and movies. Now let's take a little bit of a tour around the phone itself. First of all, on the top of the phone we have got a 3.5mm headphone jack, my preferred placement for it. And then as we move around to the right hand side of the phone, at the top we have got a volume rocker, which again is made out of a nice metal material. And then a little way down, very similar to the Xperia Z, we've got a nice big on-off button, power standby button, which actually feels very nice, very responsive, and doesn't feel like it's going to break in any way whatsoever. As we move further down, we have got a shortcut button to the camera, and if you hold this down, it actually brings up the camera fairly quickly without having to unlock the screen, and you can go straight away and also take a picture with that button as well. Quite a nice little hardware feature. On the bottom of the phone we have got nothing apart from that clear strip that enables us to look at those lights that again Sony have put in there for things like notifications. And then as we come around to the left hand side of the phone, we have got a micro USB port for both charging and syncing. Now on the front of the phone we have got a VGA front facing camera, which I'll come on to very shortly. And then we've also got that huge 4.6 inch display, which, like I say, is actually fairly big for a mid-range Android phone. At the bottom we've got the microphone. Then as we work our way onto the back, we have got a loudspeaker at the top, right next to a 8 megapixel camera capable of 30 frames per second at 1080p. And then just below that we've got a single LED flash along with the noise cancelling microphone, and then a small sticker to let us know that this is NFC capable. Now whilst we're onto the back of the phone looking at the camera, like I said, this is an 8 megapixel camera capable of 1080p at 30 frames per second. And it's a reasonably decent camera for a phone of this price. It's definitely not outstanding and it's definitely not terrible. Comes with some quite nice features like the fast access button and also a whole load of software features, including that familiar Superior Auto that we found on the Xperia Z. I don't find the Superior Auto works quite as well on the SP as it did on the Z, and sometimes you can get some quite peculiar results, but then again in the vast amount of situations it works perfectly well. And like I say, you do have plenty of software options in there to manipulate your photos in pretty much whatever way you want to. Now in regards to the front facing camera, it's a VGA camera and I was very disappointed with the results. Not only is it extremely bad quality, but it also tends to kind of lag and ghost a little as well. So a particularly bad camera on the front of the Xperia SP. Now also while we're around the front of the phone, that 4.6 inch display from Sony It does have the Bravia engine, but it also suffers from very similar issues to that of the Xperia Z, and it does tend to lose a fair amount of contrast unless you're literally looking directly at the phone. It also doesn't have the brightness capability of the Xperia Z, and sometimes even on full brightness I find it just a little bit dull, especially when you're outside in moderate to high sun. Other than that, when you're looking at it directly, it's actually a very nice panel. 319 ppi and 720p, and you can watch movies and it works perfectly fine, gives you an extremely nice picture, but like I say, you really do need to be looking directly at it for the best results. Sometimes as well I do find the whites just slightly off, but then again in the settings they have given you the opportunity to be able to change the white balance of the screen, which I think is actually quite a nice feature to have. Now onto performance. This has got a dual core 1.7 GHz processor and it performs reasonably well. The only letdown is the 1 GB of RAM, which sometimes when you've got a few applications open does mean that it lags just that little bit. Now most games and applications run perfectly well on this setup. Games I had really no issue with, providing again, like I say, you don't use up too much RAM with having too many applications open in the background. But browsing websites and flicking around the operating system actually just give you quite a decent experience. The operating system 4.1.2 Jelly Bean, and Sony as usual have placed their own skin over the top of it and made some good and some bad changes. Some of the good changes, the multitasking gives you access to some nice little applications that float around on top of the other applications, and it's quite a nice multitasking way of doing things as well. When you swipe down from the notifications, you get some nice quick access to some of the shortcuts that you'd like to get access to, and some of the software that Sony put on the phone is actually quite nice as well. However, there is a bit of bloatware. Things like McAfee you really do not want on the phone in any way whatsoever, and that's probably something that you would all remove pretty quickly. As usual, Sony include a whole array of different themes and colours. I think it's quite nice that they actually include those by default, enabling you to change the look and feel of your phone very quickly without any third-party software. They've also added in a couple of extra bits and pieces to do with connecting up the PlayStation controller via wireless to your phone as well, which again is a quite nice little touch from Sony. Now this does support the whole array of different wireless networks, including 4G, which I think is a big bonus for a mid-range smartphone. And another huge bonus with this particular phone is that it has got a huge battery considering the size. 2370 milliamp hour battery, meaning that you can very easily get through a complete day of heavy usage, and if you're using it just medium to heavy, maybe even up to 2 days. So fantastic that they put that huge battery in here, considering the actual processor specs are quite small, and also the screen is just a little bit smaller than you expect to see on most phones. Now that little translucent panel at the bottom of the phone that we mentioned earlier, you can actually tweak that so you can actually have different coloured notifications for a whole range of different notifications that you might receive, and that's quite a nice feature for Sony to have put in. It also plays along with a little light session with your music and also with your movies, and again I think that's quite a nice little feature that Sony have put in, and it's actually really nice to be able to see what kind of notification you're getting without actually having to look at the phone itself. Anyway, my overall opinion of the Xperia SP, I think for the money you're getting yourself a fairly decent phone. My only real negative about this is the screen and the way that you lose so much contrast when you've got it just very slightly off angle, and also that flex in the back of the phone. When you're holding it and you've got your fingers pressed up against it, the fact that it kind of bounces in and out just makes the phone just feel a little bit cheap. On the positive side, it's got that really huge battery that does last an extremely long time, and also 4G capability as well, and all of this packaged in at a fairly decent price. When you consider that this is probably nearly half the price of something like an S4 or an HTC One, or indeed its big brother, the Xperia Z, I think you're getting a fair amount of value for money. My only issue really when it comes to choosing this phone is, would you rather buy this phone, or would you rather go out and get maybe a second-hand Galaxy S3, or potentially even a brand new Galaxy S3 on certain contracts for a similar price that you would actually get the SP for? I'll leave that up to you guys. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Please do hit that like button for me, and I will see you all in the next video. See ya.